Hello everyone, welcome to DMKP UGM channel. So I'm Nayla Karima, and hereby I will walk you through my undergraduate thesis supervised by Ms. Biviola Kusumasari, which titled Women in Disaster Policy, a Bibliometric Mapping of the Research Literature 2015 until 2023. First of all, it may spark a question. What is bibliometric analysis? Well, according to Goodell et al. In 2021, bibliometrics is a method that has been widely utilized in the academic realm, with the aim to truly map knowledge. Bibliometric analysis methods rely on research reference to create a statistical model for the flow of scientific connection between literature. Accordingly, the PostViewer software is used as the literature mapping visualization tool to carry out this research. Coming back to the main discourse of the research, that is women in disaster policy. What is the urgency to discuss this matter? Well, research regarding women in disaster policy had received significant attention from scholars and policymakers as the leading international disaster policy, which is the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015 until 2030, had a shortfall in mentioning women's rights. Being the successor to the Hyogo Framework for Action, which progressively had called for a gender approach in the disaster risk reduction, the Sendai Framework was expected to bring further guidelines following the previous framework objectives. Sendai Framework Gender Standalone Statement, under the role of stakeholders, was said to construe women as a resource to be used in disaster risk reduction efforts. However, while the policy text of the framework recognized it, they lack crucial indicators to measure gender risks and gender resilience. Therefore, the study aims to answer the following questions. What is the research trajectory regarding women in disaster policy after the establishment of the Sendai Framework? A big question hole regarding policy gap, criticism regarding the current disaster policy, and how it affects women still existing. As the paper's novelty to provide policy framework recommendation, considering the assessor of the Sendai Framework in the future, therefore the trajectory regarding women in disaster policy and the overlooked issues in the existing literature should be analyzed, hence why the bibliometric analysis is adopted. To retrieve quality peer-reviewed and broad range of existing literature, the study chose a multidisciplinary Scopus database as the literature bibliography source. Following ADEGOKE in 2023, the preferred items for systematic reviews and meta-analysis is used throughout creating the recorded literature in order to achieve objectivity in the paper. First of all, to clarify the focus of the research, the keywords that are being performed are title, abstract keywords, women, and disaster risk reduction, or disaster management, or disaster policy, which yields a total of 396 documents on the result page. The study limits the years of the literature since 2015, which is the year where the Sendai Framework was first established, until the current last year, that is 2023. Accessibility and English language also brought up in the inclusion criteria for the literature review. The study also conducted a title and abstract review, which yields a total of 79 documents to be assessed for full-text screening for eligibility. The articles were eliminated if they deemed irrelevant or suitable with the exclusion reasons. Moreover, the Prisma framework created a total of 58 documents to be included in the paper. Looking back at the subject areas of the literature, the discussion regarding women in disaster policy have expanded into several realms, with social sciences, environmental sciences, and earth and planetary sciences being the three major disciplines that are being covered in the literature. The discourse regarding women in disaster policy is being discussed globally, hence why the geographical distribution regarding the research is diverse. With 18 publications, the United Kingdom is marked as the most productive country for authors and country of origin in deliberating women in disaster policy. However, although the UK is being the most country with most publications regarding women in disaster policy, the discussion mostly comes from Asia, including Indonesia and Africa. Nonetheless, the United Kingdom and Indonesia went the opposite when it comes to case studies coverage. Indonesia with 9 publications, with 8 of it discuss about evaluation and analysis of the current disaster policies that are being implemented in the specific regions in Indonesia, and also regarding has or has not yet empowered women in the disaster context. And the other one documents discuss about the research development regarding disaster and gender in Indonesia. In regards to mapping the multidimensional concept of disaster policy research, here is the fast fever map of research clusters by keyword co-occurrence analysis. We can see that the study found a total of 4 clusters that are being discussed in the literature, and each of it are being represented by different colors. For instance, the economical context is represented by green, the environmental context is represented by yellow, the health context is being represented by red, and the last one is the geopolitical context represented by blue. The next literature mapping, overlay visualization map of keywords co-occurrence analysis, describe the research thematic evolution since the Sendai Framework was first established. As the research aims to provide research implication for policymakers, therefore research streams identifications is carried out to translate research evidence into policy. Following Perick and Teicher in 2023, the most cited literature is selected to identify the research streams. Moreover, through analysis of the contents, it is suggested research of women in disaster policy discourse leads into 3 plights of research streams. The first one is capacity and capability of women, vulnerability, and the last is strategy and policy initiative. The research on the capacity and capability of women stream highlight about the importance of gender mainstreaming in disaster risk reduction policy, because through that, the capacity and capability of women will be more acknowledged and less overshadowed. The second one is the vulnerability streams, which concern how disaster unequally affect women and men due to women already possess vulnerability in pre-disaster due to the power relations, gender roles, and social hierarchies. It is also inevitably exacerbated by the absence of policy guidelines concerning the gender aspect in the current disaster policy framework. The strategy and policy initiatives aims to provide recommendation by evaluating and analyzing the established policy. Few studies in the streams also specifically criticize the Sendai Framework due to its inability to appropriately mention women's rights on the policy framework. By connecting results of the bibliometric analysis, the study constructed a proposed framework for mainstreaming gender in disaster policy, which consists of the following. The first one is gender inclusive approach, which facilitate the assessment of the roles and standing of women, men, and individuals minority by capturing how gender inequality are manifested in various aspects of life. The second one is gender responsive approach, which advocates to actively respond towards specific needs, vulnerabilities, and capabilities of different genders in the context of disaster management in order to tailor response and resilience building efforts accordingly. The third is gender-sensitive approach, which emphasizes the gender dimensions into account of disaster risk reduction. The last one is gender perspective approach, which integrates the importance of acknowledging the different roles, responsibilities, control, and access over resources in managing disaster. Moreover, the study signifies research implications for policymakers while also suggesting improving the policy framework into a more sustainable and more inclusive policy framework by integrating the 4 previously mentioned gender elements. I think that's all from my undergraduate thesis. Thank you for watching, and for those of you who are currently doing your research, good luck and goodbye!